Okay, so we have a quorum now. So without further ado, at 7:08, I will go ahead and call our meeting to order. Becky, are you ready for attendance?
So, Michael?
Sure.
We got a vote? Yeah, I just got that. Good, okay. Or maybe, all right. Here. Okay. Lupe?
Here.
Mark?
Here.
Gloria? Here. Jade?
Here.
Okay. And we're missing Beth. And Sharice.
Barb.
Okay, and Mark. Not Beth. Yeah, sometimes I do feel like I'm missing Barb. Yes, Barb, sorry.
Thank you. Are there any additions, corrections, or modifications for the agenda tonight? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Sure.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks, Jane. All right, all those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Do we have any public comment tonight? Got lots to get? All right, perfect. Okay, then we will get started with 6.1, our presentations. So Brian and Donica are bringing us equity, diversion, and inclusion.
Please introduce yourselves as to the role of Robert. I don't know if everyone knows. Oh, of course.
I'm Brian Robertson. I'm the acquisitions manager of the library, and Donica and I have been leading this team for a couple years now. We started right at the beginning of COVID, maybe?
Over a year,
Yeah,
a year and a half at least.
So we're going to tell you a little bit about our efforts and what we've done over the next year and what we plan on working on over the next year.
And I'm Donica Swan, the Director of Archives and Safety, and you heard from me last week as well. There we go. So yeah, we've been co-leading for over a year. And since I'm transitioning off of leadership for the committee, we thought it would be a good time to give some updates. And as you know from our strategic plan, equity, diversity, and inclusion is kind of woven through the plan. But we've been working on focusing on these tangible, actionable items and changes that we can make in the library. So tonight we're going to highlight the accomplishments that we've made and share some goals for the upcoming fiscal year for the new leadership.
So some of our accomplishments over the past fiscal year, we started with Safe Space Progress Pride flags. We placed these, we gave them to all the managers, and they put them on either their doors or windows of their offices to let all staff know that inside that office, that space is a safe and welcoming space for all and inclusive for all. So if they ever felt like they were not being treated the same as anyone else or anything like that, they could, inside that office, everyone is treated the same regardless of your sexual orientation, your race, your religion. So we thought that was a good starting point to make staff feel safe regardless of who they are and how they're represented in the library. We also worked on gender neutral language in all the policies. So you guys, everybody here saw that come through as we changed our language to be more inclusive. We did that with the help of Shalini Smith, Jordan Hale, and Matt Weatherby. They really worked hard on every policy. Everybody looked at it twice and then looked before we brought it to you. So it was a big project that we had a lot of great help on. We also, thanks to Lauren, who's head of the programming and data programming, she added closed captioning to all of our Zoom meetings. So now anyone in the Zoom meeting can request captioning. And that's great for hearing impaired, or I find it's great even for just keeping up with what's being said. You know, like what did they just say? I missed it. I was busy writing something down. So there's many great things about that. The best thing is that everyone can be included in those meetings regardless of what if they can, how well they can hear, and that kind of thing. We also added accessibility language is now included for all program registration. What that means is we have an accommodation statement included when registering for programs. So when you register, if you need any accommodation, you can request that, and then we can do our best to make sure that everyone is included there as well.
Okay, some more accomplishments. we added some more inclusive signage into the music section. So this is highlighting a variety of genres, and also a variety of entertainers. You know, a more diverse selection of entertainers, posters, and labels to find different people. We also worked on sharing resources with our AYS team who do most of the collection development, so books, music, AV, movies. We share resources that have more inclusive materials listed, so when we see those things come across our desk, we send them on to the appropriate people so that they can focus on that in their collection development as well. We also had a really exciting training this year from the Up Center. They did a cultural competency training. So that included, first of all, it was a huge success with staff members. We got so many compliments that it was such a great training, that they did a good job, they were engaging. And they taught us these nuanced differences in gender identities and pronouns and sexual orientation. What are the differences between these words? What do these mean? Which pronouns do you use when? How do you ask someone about their pronouns? This was a really fun, engaging training. We also include the recording of the training in our onboarding process. So any new staff members get to watch that training. And a big part of that was that staff at the end got to ask questions and have them answered by the Up Center. So they've also offered to come back and do the training again, or do, you know, more in-depth training or other trainings. So it was really great to work with them. And then one of the other things we've been focusing on in archives specifically is that when we decide to process special collections, we are prioritizing collections that detail the life and work of individuals and groups and organizations who've been excluded from the mainstream historical narrative. So, and also groups that are underrepresented or not represented in our own collection. So we know we have work to do there. But we're prioritizing the ones that we do have so that we can make our collection more representative of the county and the population that's actually here.
We also met with representatives from the City of Urbana, Champaign-Urbana, MTD, and the Park District to discuss their EDI efforts. We met with a team, team of individuals, both from the city and from the Park District, to discuss where they were with their EDI efforts, and also discuss different ideas and how their efforts might, and how we might be able to work with them together and establish a relationship that way. Also, we spoke to CUMTD about their racial healing workshops for all of their, that they use for onboarding all of their employees. And so we asked them how they got that kind of thing started, what kind of effort it took, and how successful it's been in the upkeep of that. So we are hoping to use that to start some of our own racial healing workshops here for management and staff at the library as well. So it should help us get started in that effort. We also worked with, Donica and I worked with United Way. They had an equity challenge last year. The Equity Challenge was a 21-week program that lasted from Martin Luther King Day to Juneteenth. It was an organized, self-guided content that was aimed at helping to gain a deeper understanding about the impacts of systemic racism and inequity throughout Illinois by reading articles, TED Talks, watching short YouTube videos. They generally had like a PDF, a short PDF that you could read and then choose the links to about 2 or 3 different either articles or short videos that were certain topics. So each week was a certain topic, and it was incredible because it really talked about the communities in Illinois and how they were impacted historically, and you really learned a lot about how long systemic racism has been going on and what we can do as an institution to help fix that, and just starting conversations. So what we did when we finished that, we shared all that information with staff, and we're hoping to use it in some staff programming. throughout the year to help move that forward and get staff more engaged as well. We also are starting to work with the WordCube predictive text software. This is really cool. It is a software for people who have mobility issues and may not be able to type really well. So they can start to say a word and a bunch of words will come up on the screen and they can choose the word that they're wanting to use without having to type the whole thing out. We currently have a volunteer who's testing that software out for us and helping us with that, and eventually we'll hopefully roll it out to the labs and any public computers to be used as well.
Okay, so that's where we've been. And we have some goals going forward for this fiscal year. So in addition to the policies, we are working on and would like to create a gender neutral and gender inclusive language guide. So this would be probably like a one-page guide with a checklist on it for staff to consult when they're preparing promotional materials for the library. So things that are going on the website, things that are going on social media, just to make sure that they've, checked it and make sure that they're being gender inclusive rather than just gender neutral, which was our goal with the policies. We also plan to still share information with the relevant departments, like the collection development information, and also professional development opportunities for staff and training opportunities, because we know that there are lots of resources out there. And of course, during COVID and now, a lot of those workshops and resources are free. It just costs your time. So we like to make sure we share that information with staff. Like Brian said, we would really like to put together or hire someone to present a racial healing workshop for us. The CUMTV did a great job. It was a very expensive program for our budget, but it gave us a lot to think about. They have workbooks and things like that came with the workshop that I think would be really helpful for our staff, just to get started on some conversations in a safe space. We're also looking at starting maybe a book or a reading or a film club for staff to read or watch on their own time and then get together on work time to discuss. These would be kind of following the equity challenge model. A certain topic, you're going to work on it quarterly or something like that, and then provide that safe space for dialogue again for staff members. Another thing that I'm working on with Amanda Lubeck, who is our safety and volunteer coordinator, is a safety manual. So we're working heavily from Champaign's current safety procedural manual. And what this is just a procedural manual to help guide staff through difficult situations, through difficult interactions with our patrons, and give them some scripts and some guidance on how to handle those situations so that they feel more empowered to handle them on their own and know that they have backup if they need it.
And similar to what Donna had mentioned about the reading book film club, we were wanting to do maybe something similar to a summer or winter reading program for staff as well. So they get with prizes, they could fill out and say what they've read, but it would be looking into watching a video, also possibly all kinds of books for children. So you get a prize for doing a children's book, a YA book, nonfiction and fiction. So just kind of spread it out to see how many different ways we can approach and look at EDI from different standpoints and start conversations as well. And make it fun too, and get staff vested and involved in a fun, positive way to help start with some of these conversations as well. This might be a good way that could lead to the book club as well. Mm-hmm. So we can start maybe with the reading and then see how many people sign up for that, and then start to do a monthly lunch and learn book club or something like that. So we're excited to try that out. Reparative cataloging, subject headings, and call number reclassification. We are having continuous conversations with staff about how and where items will be shelved and what subject headings are important to help serve as finding aids for these items. We just want to make sure everyone's included in the same way, and we aren't doing any kind of separating or othering in the way that we catalog our materials. So we're constantly having discussions of those kinds. And then we're also looking at the rules of behavior policy revision through the guidelines in order to make it more inclusive. We're just rewriting with staff input from all service desks in an effort to help the library be more inclusive while keeping it safe and welcoming space for all. So we've been looking at that, and we'll hopefully be bringing something to the board soon that as well. As far as the next year it goes, Donica is stepping down. We've already started meeting with Gretchen Webb and Don Cassidy have stepped up in Donica's place, so we have a 3-member team now. And we're meeting monthly and starting to work on some of these efforts that we're talking about here.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
I just have a question about the second bullet. Can you give an example of what reparative cataloging?
There's a large discussion going on about how, like, specifically subject headings. There's a large change on subject headings that we have to probably talk to Champaign Library about as well. But like the way the word immigrant is used in the catalog, or there's a lot of negative subject terms that are indigenous native people often are referred to as Indians. So just little things like that that we'd have to look at from a large standpoint and say, like, where can we change this and make it more inclusive so it's not doing anything like making people feel like they aren't represented in our catalog for the library. We're also looking at, let's say, where we put picture books about certain things, or where we find things in the children's department and how that leads them through their life at the library and makes them successful. If it's the same on all floors, or if we're doing something different down here than we are. So trying to keep the library on the same page and working together and starting it, the large conversation, the large hard conversations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just have one question. First of all, just a comment that this was a great presentation. It's really wonderful to see all of the effort, especially in building our team and building from the staff standpoint. As far as goals, are there any goals that include kind of our message to patrons and from a programming standpoint, or anything that we're putting out towards the community instead of just the staff?
Sure. So we've focused on staff because I think there's a lot of training and a lot of learning that can happen. And I feel like building that confidence in our staff will help us when we're interacting with our patrons. But in programming, especially in children's programming, there's been a lot of efforts to have story times in different languages or from different cultures, and just make sure that we're trying to include everyone in the community. And I think that's definitely a goal moving forward. But yeah, I would say in programming, definitely.
And I think you make a good point that laying the foundation with the staff and giving them the tools then makes it much easier for them to incorporate that in the work that they're doing. So, but probably something that's worth highlighting as well as an accomplishment.
Yeah, one of the webinars I attended recently, there was a library talking about how they got staff and community together. They took that hard step and said, we taught our staff and community, we had a program for all. And they said they weren't sure how it was going to go, but it went really well. So it was nice to hear that there was a success story with that. And I think to me, that really helps build a community too. It shows the community what you're doing in an effort to make them stronger. So, yeah.
And the communities where we're going to learn from.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, it was great. They had like a 30-person committee with people from around the city, just different people from teenagers to the age 80 probably. So it was a great diverse community. So we're starting to have some of these conversations as well.
Thank you.
Yes, I think this is really well done, very, very thoughtful. And then I was I'm hearing the word foundation, saying you're building a foundation. What I've observed is it's really great to give this foundational training, but then the real trick is just to keep
the follow-up, keep everybody practicing what they're learning. And a number of organizations will say, okay, we've done the training, check. But it's that practice, so as Lupe was bringing up, so that as you engage the community as well, I think that just helps us keep improving. So nicely done.
Absolutely. All right, thank you very much. We will move on to 6.2, and Jenny Grace has a website glow up update.
Hi, my name is Jenny Grace, as you said, and I am the digital media and graphics coordinator in the community engagement department for the library. Please let me know if I'm not talking loud enough. It's hard talking with this mask on. I've been with the library for about 15 years, and in that time frame, I've worked on 3 new websites and one major update to a previous website. And I can honestly say that this process that we just went through was one of the easiest ones that we've ever had. One of the smoothest processes I've been a part of. And before I get started on showing you the website itself, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on the process and what led us to this point. We began thinking about the need for a new website. I think it was the fall of 2018. And the current website that we were using was a Drupal format, and it was just not up to date. And the plugins that we had, they were also not up to date. And in looking at it and what it looked like, we decided that it needed a fresher look. We needed to make it more user-friendly. And so at that point, we spent about 18 months doing research on other websites, trying to figure out what direction we wanted to go, and making those plans. And it was unfortunate because right when we were getting ready to really move forward with things, the pandemic happened, and it shifted our gears for our department a lot. We had to really focus on COVID and getting signs out, social media, making the public aware, and so it kind of backed things up for a little bit, and it took a while to, as you know, it took a while for things to settle down. But once they did, we put together a 2-part plan, and the first part of that was we decided to go ahead and make some pretty basic, easy updates to the current site. And the other part of that was to start working on building the new one within Communico, which is a tool that we have, or that we purchased to help manage events, meeting room bookings, and our app. So in phase 1, we updated the header, and we started looking at content. And a goal of ours was to make the website more simple, easier to navigate. We really felt there was too much content, too much information that people didn't need, they didn't use. And so we actually had a practicum student from the high school who did some research for us. He looked into reviewing other websites, and we have Google Analytics, so he looked at some of the usage statistics and gave us some recommendations on different things that we didn't need anymore and that we could get rid of. So that was around early 2021 that we implemented those changes. And in the meantime, we started working with Communico and trying to build a new website for that module that they offer. We had many meetings, and it became pretty obvious that their focus was not necessarily website building. And it just was not going in the direction that we needed it to go, and they weren't able to give us the tools that we needed to make the website what we needed it to be. So at that point, fall of 2021 is when we started to explore finding a web developer. And then in January of 2022, the board approved our contract to work with Proof Studios, which we are extremely grateful for because they have made this process so easy. Sean and his team were absolutely wonderful to work with. We took this project pretty seriously because, you know, the website is, it's a vehicle for communication to the public. And we know that a lot of people come to the website to get a lot of information about the library, so we realize how important it is. And we wanted to make it look more modern and more stable, and I think with Proof Studios we were able to do that. So that, I'd like to take some opportunity to show you some of the changes. The homepage is, we simplified the navigation a little bit. So there's less tabs up here, and I don't know if you remember, but the drop downs, I think on some of them were broken into two columns at times even. So we wanted to get away from that and just make it more simple, easier to get around. And then we added the slider so that here we can have, I think, up to 8 banners that you can slide through. And then this part, the yellow bar, these icons are set up so that you can quickly get to some of the things that we think are one of the more popular things on the website. And we do have overlay highlight, which helps them pop out a little bit more. Sorry, I'm not using this very well. These are just another place for us to have information. Right here, if you click on that, it's a news blog that what we're planning on doing with that is feeding information that we put on social media. We're also going to add here for people to easily find. And then over here is the archives blog. And then these 4 will probably change out every so often as new programs come up. And I know we have National Library Card Sign-Up Month coming up in September. I'm sure we'll add some there for that. Just bigger programs like that. And then the book rivers are new. And this was something that we found was pretty popular on a lot of library sites. So we wanted to make sure and include it in this. And then this is also new. It's where you can sign up for the e-newsletters. And then the other page that we're pretty excited about is the Research and Learn. This was called the database page before, and it was a running list of all the databases that we provide in the library. So what we have done here is we have featured cards up at the top that we can change out whenever we want, and it features databases. We felt this was a more attractive way to highlight different or new databases. And then if you scroll down, here's the list. But as you can see, it's spaced out a lot more. There's logos that will be easy for people to identify what they're looking for. And then over here you have, this is categories for, like if you're looking for a particular subject, but you don't really know what it's called, or you can click on this, and then it will pull all those databases and list them there for you. We're pretty excited about this page. It's much improvement than what we had, and the cards, we're hoping that those go over well as well, because the cards, as you'll see in the next pages, they're a big part of this website that allowed us to still have the information, but organize it in a cleaner way and an easier way to find things. This is the eBooks and More page, and as you'll see, the banner is a little bit different from the other tabs on the navigation. We thought that this was a little more of an attractive way to just catch people's eyes, because ebooks and audios and movies are pretty popular for people to find things. And then, as you see here, we have, these are the image cards. And here you can have an image, and then the description, and then the Learn More button will take you to the page that you need to go to. I will say that we're about 80% at having this, everything working the way it should. Obviously, we still have links and images and PDFs that we need to go through and add. And we're hoping that in the next couple of weeks we can get it even further along. This is another page that looks a lot better than what it did. This is our library of things, and it lists all the collections along with the logos, and then you can just put there and go there, and it will give you more links and a description, and then you can go to the catalog in there. And then, of course, they go right to know. And as I'm sure all of you are aware, we had a very long page before. So again, here we are using cards, and these are considered more like the text cards. You don't have an image with these. We thought just keeping it simple was the best. And put it here, or here's and then as we get further along, those will be up to date. And this is also a much easier process to add this information. It's a lengthy explanation, so I'm not going to get into it. Couple more important things. The new site is much more mobile responsive as well. And the accessibility for this site is built into the content management, and so it is accessible. And another thing that we've added is the language, the translate button, which has a lot of languages to pick from. As I said, we are still working on a lot of fixes, but we feel pretty good about it. And you know, if you're on the website and you notice any issues at all, you could probably just let us know, and she'll put in a ticket for it. I'm working my way through them as I get them, and we'll continue to keep improving it and working on it. I want to just repeat myself that we couldn't have been happier with Crew Studios, and that we thank you for making it a possible accomplishment on our parts, and just please let us know if you have any issues.
Thank you, Jenny. You answered my questions that I had been jotting down as you went along, so thank you for that. And I will say that, just again, another comment, it was a wonderful distraction when I went to check it out. The book recommendations kept me busy for a lot longer than I'd intended, and all of the databases. So they were very accessible and kept me very busy for longer than I intended, but it was wonderful, so thank you.
Good, I'm so glad.
Yeah, I also had a lot of fun just finding things that I did not ever notice before. And so I think very successful. So I know it's still a Drupal, is still the platform?
Yes, that's still the content.
So now, how easy is it to add content? Does it all come through you, or what's the content changing, adding process? The learning curve for Drupal is sometimes high.
Well, okay, so I see it as in 3 layers. the very back end of this, the more difficult coding and things like that, Proof Studios is still going to be available to us to do some other things, you know, things that we can't reach. And then the second layer would be me or the other staff, the graphic staff. When the library staff needs changes, they'll put in tickets, then we go in and we can easily get you the content as far as like this page, it's a basic page, so we can easily get to that and make any changes that, you know, that we need to make. So it's really not too complicated, as long as it stays in that middle ground and we're not trying to do the back end stuff.
Yeah, that's, I was guessing that, but just, you know, wanted to check out. And then last question I had is, so I'm assuming when you chose the areas to highlight, like, you know, get a new card or reserve a room, does that come out of the Google Analytics hits for where people were
Yeah.
searching the most? And that's one of the ways you chose those
Yeah, that's
particular
correct.
ones?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's nice and done. Very
Oh,
nice.
thank you, thank you. Any other comments?
I just want to say Jenny was such a strong leader in this project with your design expertise as well as your technical expertise. We could not have done this without you, Jenny.
Oh, thank you very much. I actually really like working on websites a lot.
It was wonderful to hear from you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll keep moving then. We are on 6.3, our circulation AV area renovation direction next.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm just going to be really brief this evening and just talk to you, as you know, in this year's fiscal budget, we have money set aside to renovate circulation in our AV area. And so we are just starting to have some high-level conversations about what our vision and goals and things for that are going to be. So these are some of the questions we've been kind of talking to each other about. So how do we create an environment that is best to serve our patrons and that also allows staff to accomplish work in an efficient manner? How can we make customer service a priority? What does the best customer service for our patrons look like? How can we best utilize cafe space in the cafe storeroom? And how can the Ray Street entrance best showcase new library materials and be a welcoming, comfortable environment? So we're just at the beginning stages of kind of having conversations. What does this look like? What does this mean to all of us? And so what we're really hoping to accomplish through this project is not just to have a physical remodeled space, that's part of it, but to really build a new service model that where staff can focus on serving the people that are in front of them, the patrons that are in front of them, instead of having to do multiple tasks at once, like answering the phone and checking out materials. So something that could be more tangible from that is creating workspace in the back of the circulation area where staff will work on those tasks, and then other staff will focus on helping people at the desk. And then they can trade spaces, and then focus on customers and do some of the other work that they do. So those are kind of some really baseline conversations we just started having. And I hope to come and update you more as we work through the process. Does anyone have any questions?
Could I ask you a question?
Sure.
What happened to the science fiction books that had to be in a different part of the library because they wouldn't fit in the room?
Oh, at first I was very So we took some of the, you might have noticed if you walk through the Ray Street entrance, it looks a lot more open. We took the two bookcases that were on the sides of the cafe and we moved them into the new book room area. So we had some confusion sometimes with our sale books and our science fiction and things being separated, or people just didn't see them over there. So now all of our new stuff is very easily navigable and people can take a look and kind of see everything that's new in one place. So that's kind of the purpose.
Excellent. Yes, and we appreciate that this is certainly a work in progress and that there are lots of conversations going on and collaboration. So I am looking forward to more updates as we move further in the process. Any other questions or comments or questions, right?
Thank you very much.
All right.
And Gretchen is in manager of circulation department.
Oh, I didn't introduce myself, sorry.
Well, we're glad to know you and have you here.
Thank you.
agenda. Is there any request to separate anything from the consent agenda? Okay, I will read these off and then look for a motion to approve. So our consent agenda tonight includes the board meeting minutes for July 12th, 2022, payroll July 15th, 2022A, totaling $40,550.39. Payroll for July 15th, 2022B, totaling $71,898.49. Payroll for July 29, 2022, total $100,882. Bills for July 14th, 2022, totaling $6,304.42. Bills for July 20th, 2022, totaling $17,893.13. And the bills for August 5th, 2022, totaling $71,137.78. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Is that, or was that, Jane, is that second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Okay, I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Same sign for any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Moving into our individual action items, 8.1, the annual report to City Council per 75 ILCS 54-10. Celeste, do you have anything to say on this one?
Well, as happens every year, we're still working on the statistical report, so we sent you a draft copy of there are a couple of numbers, we're just figuring out the last pieces, and when we get those done, we will send you the final submitted copy. The actual annual report is the same as last month, except those couple of stylistic changes that you had mentioned. So we will, if you approve this tonight, I will present it to City Council on the 22nd.
Is there a motion to approve the annual report?
So moved.
Thank you, Michael. Is second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. All right, motion carries. 8.2, EEO and anti-discrimination policy changes. Those were in your packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second? Sorry, is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. 8.3, the respectful work environment policy, which was also in your packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second.
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 Thank you. Any discussion? All right, looks good. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign? Okay, that carries. 8.4, City of Urbana munis fee, $12,592. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thanks, Michael. A second? Thanks, Gloria. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. 8.5, our Ameren invoice, $18,205.95. Celeste, did you want to give us some background?
You, Michael and the board had asked for just some information on our Ameren bills, and so Brian, who is here, told me the past so many years of Ameren bills. So I divvied it up in a couple different ways so you can see the upward trend. You do know that we've reported to you about different methods we've been using to be more energy efficient, switching to LED lights. We've made some changes in how we use the heating and cooling system to bring in more outside air, which would have a negative impact on energy used in order to have a safer, healthier environment. But the trend is definitely an upward trend. And so happy to pull any more information, but this is kind of a higher level look. Some months you're going to see a zero. Sometimes the bills come at a certain cycle. So that's why you're going to see a zero for certain months. But overall, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'll be happy to do any other digging for you if you'd like.
Okay, I'm going to ask for just a motion to approve.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Thanks. Now, is there any discussion, any questions about, first, for Brian for bringing this to us and Celeste for helping us get this coordinated. It definitely paints the picture of what we expected.
It's really helpful, and it's interesting. What I'm trying to figure out is how we use fewer kilowatts with this really hot July. Maybe it hasn't gotten less than we did last year, you know, but of course these things aren't always completely accurate. But like, wow, we're averaging 76 for this July, 74, but yet we had fewer kilowatt hours. So just kind of curious. But yeah, this is great. This is very helpful.
I don't think I want to look at this from my home. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. On to our discussion items, our appreciative inquiry. I'll keep this brief for tonight, or at least as brief as everybody wants to keep it. But last month we had presented the article by Maureen Sullivan just as some food for thought. So I just wanted to open it up tonight before we move on for any thoughts or feedback from anybody.
I thought it was, you know, it is completely opposite of what everybody's instincts are when people generally like to identify problems, look for solutions for problems, and start from that basis. So starting from the basis of look at what's going right and then try to build on that, that does take a whole different set of approach to things.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was the first, you know, comment I read, and you know, and try to apply that even to my household.
Yes, I was going to say the same. Anything else?
Yeah, I liked one thing about it, which was the suggestion of, you know, people work better when they feel like it's sort of, I think she called it free choice. And it brought up something we've talked about before, which is, you know, we have a fairly narrow information flow from the staff to the board. And I've occasionally said, you know, this works great now, you know, everything's fine, but with the previous, you know, when I came on the board, it didn't work, broke down where we had problems. And I think following that one thing here, it would be good to have a more of a, you know, we have a great staff and just have more of an open flow of information, a suggestion box, whatever, on the web, physical, you know, or I know that, let's see, so that's not crazy about this idea.
This is my active listening phase.
Oh, okay. So that was the thing, the idea that I liked here, but I have to say, I really couldn't stand the article. And give you some of the main points. One is, there was a lot about the Pygmalion effect, and the Pygmalion effect is sort of a poster child for the replication crisis in psychology, where the original studies, the statistics were screwy and they didn't hold up for replication. So that was one problem. The other, well, there's a bunch of others, but the other that struck me right away is that she starts off saying, you know, libraries have all these challenges, and the way they've approached those challenges is completely wrong. They've done this deficit approach, where you start off by saying what's wrong. The right way to approach isn't the crazy and stupid way that they've been doing in the past, but rather by starting off and saying how well people have been doing. I thought, am I the only one who sees the irony of this? That was my reaction.
No, and I appreciate the feedback and certainly the engagement. That's what we're looking for, is an engagement. And can we bring different ideas and perspectives? And I bring it up mostly as, you know, a concept of, and I think the concept for me, what I took away from it is certainly the idea of the what should be and what can be. That kind of big scale thinking of looking towards the future. You know, when we think about sustainability or we think about what our library should be, what we want to be in the community, and not looking at our limitations, but saying, this is the ideal state, this is what we want to do, whether it's our, diversity and inclusion of saying, okay, we're going to start here, but we really want to be here. But aiming and looking at saying, okay, well, we've got this great foundation, this is where we want to be. So that was kind of what I took away from it, certainly not as a paradigm that has to get it all right, but as a way of approaching, we have so many strengths. What are we going to do as an organization to build on them as we go forward, and really kind of envision that ideal state that we would love to get to. Any other comments?
This was the first journal article I've read since grad school. Wow, going back in, but while Jonathan and Brian were giving the presentation, just what you just said, I was thinking about how the library does a lot of this in practice from what has been shared by the staff teams and how collective the approach is and how forward thinking it is. And I really appreciated, for example, in today's EI presentation, how there was a true celebration of what has happened to date and also a clear illustration of the conversations that are happening collaboratively and cohesively to kind of innovate what's going to be coming up in FY23, even as the team is shifting a little bit. So.
Yeah, their presentation tonight I thought was very well timed. Okay, what I hope to bring is not so much an appreciative inquiry, but hopefully we can have these mini discussions. We won't take time because we've got lots of other content and things to cover, but to just kind of beg the question a little bit sometimes to get us kind of stimulating our thought about how we move forward. So thank you guys, I appreciate you participating and just engaging in that. So, okay, we will move on to reports from our liaison officers. 10.1, Friends of the Library.
Barb is not here tonight. The Friends did not meet this month. They plan to meet in September. As Barb has mentioned, they have the upcoming book sale the 22nd through the 25th of September.
Excellent. And do we have a report from the foundation?
They are going to meet next week, and we do have a new member. We had mentioned last month a new member, a person had applied, Mark of the Atkins Group. Mark Dixon of the Atkins Group is the newest member of the foundation board. And we are delighted to have him.
Yeah. Okay, and from IHLS?
I don't have anything new to report.
Okay. And anything further from the administrative report?
No.
Questions? Okay. I don't think we have any board or committee reports tonight. So for 13.1, our board president report, after discussions with Gloria, I am happy to appoint Gloria Yen as our liaison to the Urbana Free Library Foundation Board. So thank you for stepping up and volunteering, and we will work to get you connected with them. Do we have any unfinished business tonight? And I don't see any new business. All right, we're going to have to work through the logistics of this. So I need a motion to go into closed session, yes? Okay.
And then we take a roll call.
Okay. So do I have a motion to go into closed section? Do I need to read all of these?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'm going to read it for you, and then I'll take the motion. So we're going to go into closed session for the discussion of 16.1, the minutes of meetings lawfully closed under this act for purpose of approval by the body of the minutes and for semi-annual review of the minutes as mandated by pursuant to 5 ILCS 120-2C21, section 2.06. And 16.2, approval of destruction of verbatim record per 5 ILCS 120/2.06C12. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Beth. And a second.
Second.
Okay, and we need a roll call.
Michael?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
Yes. Mark?
Yeah.
Okay, Gloria?
Yeah.
Jane? Are you with us?
Jane?
Jane?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That was the roll call.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got distracted with the phone. We're good. Okay,
So I
so,
need to go get them,
okay.
so.
So it is 8:14 and I am bringing us back into open
We
session.
have to vote to go back into open session or not.
I don't think so, I think it's just a roll call
Okay,
to.
roll call, we're all back.
We're all back. So Michael?
Here?
Beth? Here. Lupe?
Here.
Mark?
Here.
Gloria? Here. Jane?
Here.
Okay.
Wonderful.
We're back.
So we are back in open session for item 17.0. These are our individual action items. 17.1, the approval of the closed session minutes for February 8th, 2022 and March 8th, 2022. Is there a motion to approve?
So
Thank you, Gloria. Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that one is approved. 17.2, vote to open or keep closed the closed session minutes that were listed.
Basically, what we can do is just say we vote to open these two and leave everything else closed.
Yeah.
And then, yes, you don't have to list all the closed ones because they're already closed.
Perfect.
So I move to open the last ones, 2/8/22, 3/8/22, and keep everybody else closed.
That's okay.
Phrase right?
Thank you. I'm just making sure the date's right. Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, 17.3, approval of destruction of the verbatim record per 5 ILCS 120/2.06C12, November 10th, 2020. This is the verbatim record. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thanks, Beth. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I think we did it. Is there a motion to adjourn? And a second? Thanks, Mark. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? We are good. Thank you, everybody. That was